So now, moving on to the 5-minute presentations, it's my pleasure to introduce the first speaker. Erik Assadourian is today a special guest in that he's in the area he's normally working from Washington, D.C. He's a senior researcher with the World Watch Institute and the director for the State of the World Report 2010, and I believe you were director last year, 2009 as well? Just 2010, sorry, my mistake. And that report is transforming cultures from consumerism to sustainability. Erik has also directed 2 editions of Vital Signs, World Watch's annual analysis of sustainability trends. The World Watch Institute, as I've already said, is based in Washington, D.C. and is an independent research organization that produces fact-based analysis of critical global issues. Erik.
Thank you, everyone. I will definitely be within 5 minutes, as Peter made it very clear that he will use the electroshock therapy to get anyone off the podium. So I don't want that. And thank you, Metro Vancouver and Peter, for having me here. And I will admit, I do not know much about Vancouver, so I hope what I can bring today is a bit of global perspective on how that could be applied to creating a regional food economy here in Vancouver. And I want to make it clear that from my perspective, this process is not an economic process. This is a cultural transformation. You know, the work I've been doing this past year is really looking at, okay, we have a consumer culture. Consumerism is the dominant pattern that shapes our culture, our understandings of ourselves, and that's been intentionally engineered over the past arguably 50 to 200 years, depending on which researcher you listen to. And that has been done highly effectively until it has changed how we live. But we can use those same tools to create a culture of sustainability that were so effective in creating a culture of consumerism. And that is how the structure of the State of the World is really mapped out. It looks at 6 key institutions on how to change cultures, transform cultures, so that living sustainably feels as natural as living as a consumer feels today. How do we make that shift? And it looks at these key 6 institutions: education and business, media and government, social movements, and traditions. And it has about 25 articles looking at different examples of how those institutions are being used. So the exciting part for me of what's come out of this research is basically a new system or methodology to apply to any specific issue. Okay, if we want to create a regional food economy, let's use those 6 institutions. Let's not just overly focus on one, like policy and getting subsidies for local food. That's important, but just as important is the other 6. So what I'd like to do with my 2 minutes and 55 seconds remaining, there's a clock here, is walk through these 6 institutions very quickly and give you some examples in how each can be applied. Education is a great example. In the book, there's a whole article on school meals and the power of shifting these school menus in creating new dietary norms so that a whole new generation of children start eating local, healthy, sustainable food instead of growing up on fast food, on sugary and processed foods that are often in our schools. But one example, concrete, of that is the city of Rome, where 2/3 of all the food served in schools there is organic, and 1/4 is local. Right? So the power of schools, when you actually use their purchasing power, you can help create a regional food system through the changing of these institutional buying habits. And you can add to that hospitals, which if you actually have local and healthy food being sold there, that's much better. That's going to help in the recovery of people in hospitals. So these kind of public providers of food is a key tool in education. And of course, you know, that's just one example. The media, we have to recognize the power of marketing. Marketing is a $643 billion a year industry. It's literally 1% of the world's gross world product. So, you know, finding the ways to use social marketing is a key tool in helping to stimulate desire, not for the iPad, which hopefully none of you did come with that, because that's just one more gadget, but using that same, sorry, that's a very biased view here, but anyway, I'm not a big gadget fan, but I am a fan of using those same marketing tools to stimulate our desires for things that are actually good. You know, local food and organic and healthy food, and that marketing should not be overlooked as a really powerful tool. Two more examples quickly. The government, of course, it could be a powerful tool. On the bus up here, I saw that there's a question in Vancouver of incinerator or new landfill. Question of how do we create composting opportunities here, you know, supported by governments to create new local fertilizers that actually help to improve local farming and get rid of waste in the most sustainable way, composting organic waste and getting that directly back into the full cycle. And one last one in my 15 seconds is the one that we often ignore, the traditions, right? When you get actually church communities and elders and others that have soft power in a sense, advocating for this. If you get local priests and rabbis building local church gardens and celebrating that and encouraging people to buy their food from those outlets, that's a real powerful tool. But the report really goes into lots of different ways that we can apply different institutions that we often overlook in this process. And so I'll end there and hope to give more examples in the Q&A. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Erik.